Hello, guys. I hope you all are doing well. This is the 16th of November. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on BTC, the market. I'm going to see how exactly the price is going to unfold fully today, so we can set the plan for next week. A few things that I wanted to highlight it for you, starting from I would say the high time frame in regards to BTC. I mean, for the time being, definitely that we are dealing with um, a scenario where BTC lost the 108 region since last week and since the beginning actually of the month, and this is where exactly you started just moving in an expansional way to the downside, away from the 108 and also away from the monthly open as a level. Now could we, as like, let's say we are heading to the downside to get some kind of a contracting move to the upper side? It's very possible, but let's be like a little bit realistic on where exactly we are sitting now and how exactly to identify the levels and see where the price could respond. So yeah, so we are dealing with this candle for now. I need also to highlight for you a few things, which is it's coming from the current yearly candle, especially that we are trading above the yearly open as for now. But interestingly, that we lost also another major level for BTC, which is it's the 100.4. So where that exactly it's gonna put us. So we lost, like, let's say this from the previous candle, which is gonna put us in a situation that cool, this is a deviation till it's proven otherwise, and we need to just to see where exactly the price can base out, and it's gonna start giving us, like, let's say some kind of bounces to the upper side. If we would be looking at this to be a range, is there a probability for BTC like really to go all the way to the downside? Well, yeah, it is very possible. But when we do have, like, let's say kind of big ranges, I do really like, let's say, to go into smaller ranges. And the reason behind doing that is just to make you, like, let's say, flow with the move and flow with the momentum and flow with the price, this was a plan, if you guys remember where exactly I dropped it to you on X, where we just like split this into ranges just to make it, and we were just like talking about this move, that if in case we moved and we started breaking these highs, then you start trading toward this area. If in case you get any kind of a deviation, then you started working your way on the way down, and that's pretty much where we are. As you can see, like, this was the small range over the weekend where we played the move to the upper side, and this was mainly the short, looking like, let's say, for lower levels. We got a decent bounce from here, then it failed actually to reclaim and to hold above these levels, where you started again moving and trading away from Asia low of Monday, and that's where exactly the whole week direction is just went into like lower levels. So when I'm looking at these lower ranges, it's just try really, like, let's say, to get myself into the best kind of price action, where I can just like trade these lower ranges, and these just like, instead of me putting myself into a situation that I'm looking at I would say a 10% or a 15% move, then we're gonna start dropping things into lower levels. So looking at this also from the previous month, obviously we lost the previous month candle, that's clear. And yeah, as also a direction for us now, if you will be looking also at things, we are trading above the 103. So we do have the 108, we do have the 103, we do have the 100K. All of these levels, they were previously, by the way, they were previously support that provided supports, provided bounces. When you lose them, you just like shift away from them. They provided also supports at some stage. They provided, let's check the 100.4. Yeah, in a way or another, as you can see it, the prices provided really a decent support. And from here, by the way, this is in the beginning of the year. We weren't like, printing the lows, so there is no point, like, let's say, to look at it. But still, these levels still, it's gonna, like, let's say, work in a proper way, looking at just like a high time frame. So it's obvious that we lost some kind of supports. Now, usually there is something that I do like to do it when the price is shifting really away from an area of support. I would like to trade toward it. Because if you will be looking at the price, usually when you do have like, let's say in areas that it's providing supports, and bouncing from it, you lose it, you shift away from it, then at some stage the price is going to trade toward it. That's the whole part. So I would like really to get into some kind of a play. I'm not talking about a major shift. I'm not talking about this. Too realistic when it's coming to these kind of plays. I'm just like, trying to play toward this area. I don't know how high things it's going to go. There are a few things, like let's say when you are trading to the downside, that usually it's happening, that you get yourself, like let's say this bounce to the upper side, and then from here also you get yourself, like let's say a drop to the downside, and we'll see if it's going to shift into any kind of a structure, or it's going to base out and then you start moving, and something like this could happen, or it could just like do from here and then start shifting to the upper side. But still, it's just like you play this and then you monitor what exactly is happening at around these levels, because after this move to the upper side, you get usually pullbacks, and it depends on the strength of the move. But usually that's a kind of play that I would really like to get into it. So if I'm looking at something on BTC and going back, like let's say to the major play on BTC, so we do have this. We do have, let me just put something here, which is I already marked the levels previously. So we do have the 90K, it's a major level. At the same time, we do have also the yearly open that it's sitting at around the 93. This is just like, it's a major level where the price, if it's going to come to it, will we just like deviate a little bit and just drop to the downside toward the little bit lower levels, or could it just like, from here move to the upper side? That's what I'm gonna try to look into it for now. If I'm looking at something with the way how exactly we dropped, let's remove just these levels and just show you what exactly I'm looking at. My expectations for now, that these two levels, this is where we ended the week, that's like, that's Friday candle, that we need to resolve this range first. What does it mean that we need to resolve this range? Could we trade a little bit above it? Could we trade a little bit under it? Very possible, but we need to resolve this range, Now looking at the weekly candle, any kind of bounces that I'm expecting it to happen with a normal, like, move, like let's say toward the end of the week, it's going to be rebalancing the candle. And when we are talking about rebalancing the candle, that usually by the end of the month, by the end of the week, if you will be looking at things where last month, sorry, we moved, and I spoke to you about the last week of the month, where we moved, and then after that we bounced toward, like let's say, the end of the month. If I'm going to go on a lower time frame, you will see it clearly that by the end of the month here, 15th of October, we started bouncing. And by the end of the month here, 30th of October, you got yourself a day, 2 days, like let's say to the upper side till you opened. This is just like, the balance of rebalancing, sorry, the monthly candle, of what I call rebalancing the monthly candle. Now, if I'm looking at this and where the price really closed, we closed first of all like a red candle. It has definitely a sell pressure. I'm not going to be talking about it like as a topping candle. But if I'm talking about this, or I'm taking this to be like, let's say, the mid-range, we closed under it. So we expect, again, a sell pressure to come, at least to come and to take this low. So let's look at the weekly candle on how exactly we are closing. This is a kind of a weekly candle that it's coming, first of all, like, let's say, from a downtrend. And if I will be looking at something at some stage that I don't know really where we're going to be closing this weekly candle, but logically speaking, if I'm looking at this as a weekly candle, and I will be looking at the mid-range of it, assuming that we printed the low, and the high, I think we printed it. I don't think that we're going to be bouncing today all the way to the upper side, but I'll be looking at this, again, the 100.7, it's a major level. So could we start moving to the upper side, especially that the momentum for us, it's aggressively to the downside? And what do I mean by the momentum? You do have a momentum on a high time frame, you do have a momentum on a lower time frame. And if I'm looking at, like, let's say, a momentum on a high time frame, I do really like to look into two things mainly. One of them is just to try to catch the momentum earlier, like let's say on a daily time frame, which is the price can bounce all the way to the upper side and still come back lower. That's like a daily momentum, just like the 513 that usually I do like, to see it. If we shift away from it, you might, get yourself like some kind of mean reversion play. You shift away from it, you might get yourself a mean reversion play. Same thing that you see it here. Could we get this also? Very possible. But then later on, you might come, take the lows, base out, also drop to the downside. It's very possible, all right? Now, if I'm looking also at the weekly time frame, it's obvious that we lost it. You close this weekly candle under it. That's the second candle that you confirm it. This means for me that we might go definitely into a 5-6 weeks, in it's not like, let's say, in a downtrend, but in it's not, I don't mean like, let's say, in a downtrend that means that like you just keep continuing, you go to lower levels. No, it means that the pressure will go like, let's say, to the downside, means that you still can do something like this, still you can move to the upper side, still you can go lower, still you can move, something like this. The pressure mainly would just like stay to the downside. Now, there is something else, like, let's say, that also I keep my eye on it, which is the 12 and the 21, which is, you can see 513 and then the 12 and the 21. And you can see, like, for now, again, we are trading into this. Does this mean, like, let's say, that it's going to put, like, let's say, more of a sell pressure? Yeah, if we don't base out. But if we started basing out and we started showing some kind of a demand at around these levels, then yeah, that's something else. We can deal with it later on. But on a high time frame, I would say I don't really have much of a play into major swings. Means that I'm not looking to trade BTC in the coming few days, I would say, or till the end of the year, that I want to trade it toward all-time high. But maybe I can get myself, like, let's say, something that I can trade toward it. So I do have specific levels that it's in my mind, like, let's say, to look at it and to trade toward it. But let me just finish this where exactly we were talking about, like, let's say, the momentum. So definitely there is a shift in the momentum, like, let's say, to the downside. But if I will be looking at things also on a high time frame, I mean, still on the monthly basis, that BTC can go all the way, like, let's say, to the 87, and still on the monthly basis, the only thing that you are getting it move up, retrace, move up, retrace, move up, retrace. It's very possible, but still you can trade toward the 87. And there is another thing that I'm not a fan of, usually, I'm not a fan of. But if you will be looking also at something to keep an eye on it, just to understand, like on a high time frame, and I'm not using it at all for trading, but I do consider keeping an eye on it just to understand when exactly this is happening. I do really like, let's say, to keep an eye on, like, mainly the yearly VWAP, because you are trading, you are trading inside this yearly VWAP. When you start trading inside this yearly VWAP, then you put yourself, or you cap yourself into a range. So the yearly VWAP now, it's around, like, let's say, the 89 at the low, and then you do have the 113 at the high. So yeah, you can just like move to the upper side, move to the downside. By the way, for now, it didn't shift to lower levels. Could it shift to lower levels? I think it needs, like, let's say, a new year in order for this, like, let's say, to start shifting to the downside and to confirm the move and to start, like, dropping into lower levels and to shift into lower levels. It needs mainly, like, let's say, a new year to start with it and to see if this is, like, really shifting, because, well, we will see. But the point, again, it's just that's something that just like, usually I do keep an eye on it just to try to understand what's going on. So could we get, again, a move and retrace, like, let's say, toward this and then continue to the downside? Very possible. It's very possible. Why not? So we need, like, really to keep an eye on what's exactly it's happening here. And with the way how exactly I'm looking at it in this way. So we do have, again, these two levels that we are putting them at around the borders of the previous week. And I'm looking also at these two levels for now, which is the low from here and also the high from here. So if I'm looking at this, just mainly to consider, like, let's say, what can the price do? Well, the price can do this as a move toward a little bit toward higher levels into rebalancing, like, let's say, the closing of the week. Could it, after that, like, let's say, come and to trade a little bit lower and then to move to the upper side, and then maybe we start just, like, having some kind of a sideways range where you broke down, you got your sideways range, you broke down. Could we get this, like, let's say, to be a small range, and then after that, like, let's say, another range? But if I would like really to look into something, I would like to look into this range specifically. First of all, I do have a specific level that I would like really to trade toward it and to keep an eye on it, which is it's coming at the 110, 750, which is it's coming exactly where we broke down, like let's say from around these levels. This doesn't mean that it has to happen in November. It could be like let's say a move that we might get it into December, and we do have also lower levels to come to it to the downside. If actually I'm looking for lower levels that where BTC can go, she can go like let's say, and she can shift still to the 88, the 87, the 85, the 84, and then later on, like let's say, to get yourself a recovery and the rally. And yeah, we will see by that time what's going to be the case. Now, one thing to keep an eye on it, I'm not a fan of using EMAs to make like let's say high time frame decisions. I'm just using them to identify the momentum. And when I'm talking about identifying the momentum, that's why, as an example, I'm against making a full judgment of we are heading into, like, let's say, a bear market rally just because of me losing, as an example, the 50 EMA on the weekly time frame. I'm just against it. I'm not saying that it doesn't work or it doesn't do. I mean, everyone has his own opinion when it's coming to these kind of things. Yeah, we are closing under it, or maybe we're gonna close under it, and then after that we will see what's going on. If, as an example, you will be looking at, let's go just like on really a high time frame chart that it's going to help us, like, let's say, understand things. So with BTC, like, let's say, when you are talking about BTC moving on a 50 EMA, first of all, like, it's not really that old asset. So we can confirm, like, let's say, we can confirm, like, let's say, a historical data that we can rely on it all the time. That if, as an example, I'm looking at this, oh, we didn't, like, let's say, lose it, or we lost it a little bit, and then we reclaimed, we rallied, we lost it here, then you reclaimed it, then you move to the downside. Here, it gave you a support. Here, it gave you a support, but you don't have really much data. So let me take this and, as an example, take it and look into other assets. Does it really work in this way? Well, if gold, as an example, we will be looking at gold rally at around these levels. Yeah, you supported it, you supported it, you supported it. Here you lost it, here you lost it, then you moved to the upper side. Now, what does it mean when you lose it? Well, I might just like spend more time under it, you know. That's the whole thing, because it's gonna put, like, let's say, more pressure on the assets itself. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go into a bear market. It doesn't mean that, for me at least. You know, still you're going to be having, like, let's say, you know, the move up and down, up and down. And let's assume that also in a bear market, what kind of things that you will be looking at it? You will be looking at still move aggressively to the downside, still you get retraces. Aggressive to the downside, you get retraces. Aggressive to the downside, you get retraces. The point from all of this, that what exactly I'm trying to tell you, that still your moves that, or these moves, you're gonna still keep getting it all the time. And it doesn't mean if I'm applying this on NASDAQ with this rally to the upper side, you lost it, and still you shifted to the upper side. It means that maybe I spent more time. Also here, by the way, this is a decent rally for NASDAQ. It didn't provide any kind of like a support here. You lost it, and then you got like a move, and then aggressively you moved. Here, by the way, you lost it again, and then you started rallying to the upper side. At the same time, yeah, you lost it here. And then after that, you got a rally, you moved, you got a rally toward it, you moved, you got a rally. But it doesn't mean for me that this is a confirmed bear market, because you lost it here, and what exactly you got. So the whole idea of just using the EMA without looking at the high time frame price action, for me, it's useless. That's my opinion, you know. Everyone has, like, let's say, his opinion. I totally respect it if you do have a different opinion, but it doesn't work with me. It's just like it doesn't fit the way how exactly I'm looking at things, you know. So where this is gonna put us, it's gonna put us that these are the levels that we are looking at it. Could we trade, like, let's say, into lower levels on BTC? Yeah, we could. Then in that time, where could be these levels that we might get into it? So let's check this out. And let me also, I think I'm in a need to remove this one. Let me just check something quickly. BTC, so high time frame, overview. Yeah, I need to remove this because I added this just extra, you know. We can also remove this and remove this. So where exactly this it's gonna put us? It's gonna put us that can we trade toward lower levels? Absolutely, we can trade toward lower levels. BTC can trade toward the 85, can trade toward the 78, but does it mean that it has to happen one time? No. It can do this as an example: bounce, reject, Remember the 100 as an example, it was a support. You can trade toward it, then reject, then continue, then reject, then continue, then maybe base out, then shift to the upper side. It's very possible, you know. So don't put like, let's say, too much hoops. But one thing that it's too obvious for now, that the momentum is to the downside. What does it mean when there is a momentum to the downside? When there is a momentum to the downside, you need to do two things. One of them, it's try to play and to shift with the momentum to the downside, means that you need to be extremely careful when you are looking for longs and try to reduce the, try to flow with the momentum to the downside by looking for shorts into major bounces. When you get like, let's say yourself, remember, when you get yourself like, let's say a drop, you get yourself a bounce, but then after that, you get yourself a drop. It is like kind of a must when you shift the trend. And this is where exactly we shifted the trend. Actually, we shifted the trend from here. Now, the point of what exactly I'm talking to you about, that we need really just to pay attention to what exactly is happening here. Before the price is going to confirm shifting the trend and start trending to the upper side, I think we're going to be getting a base out. What does it mean, a base out? It means that you might get yourself a drop, a bounce, then you might get yourself a retraces. Could this do something like this? Could this do something like this? And start shifting, you might get yourself something like this. And this is the play that you are trading, like let's say to the upper side, then you'll be expecting the price to come back to the downside. Could we get also V-shaped recoveries? Yes. Now, with this move to the upper side, we can identify if that is really a massive strength and we are getting a V-shaped recovery, the same way of what exactly happened on NASDAQ when, as an example, we reviewed it. But again, things are a little bit different when you are looking from an asset to another asset, especially with this drop that you get to the downside. And getting like, let's say, a V-shaped recovery to the upper side, it's because of what exactly you have here. So you got like, let's say, a kind of an identified range. You got a kind of like, let's say, a decent consolidation that it came at NASDAQ at these levels. And the most important thing, you got yourself a previous all-time high. So yes, you got yourself a drop to here, but this is where exactly you got a decent support. You got a cluster of consolidation and another cluster of consolidation as a small one, which is, it's going to put you in an area that this is a demand zone and a previous all-time high. So could this, like, let's say, again, provide us like a V-shaped recovery on BTC? Fine, but it depends on where exactly we're going to reach, you know. But this move to the upper side, the moment that you start looking into this and start identifying this into a lower time frame and see what exactly the price action that you printed it here and what exactly you get at around these levels, well, we can go and zoom in into lower time frame and try to understand what went in here. I'm going to go like, let's say, a little bit with the high time frame, just on a daily basis, and mark the areas where we dropped down really from, you know, and you know, that's the area where we dropped down from it, another area that we dropped down from it, and we're going to be covering it on a lower time frame. And we got also ourselves this area. I mean, it's not really that clear because like you do have a lot of gaps, which is it's coming by the end of the week. But I would say if I'm going to go also on a 1 hour time frame here. So we broke down from this area. And we will see if the price really started shifting and started moving to the upper side, coming into demand area again, getting you a decent bounce, coming, giving you retraces, coming, giving you retraces. This is what I do call a base out. And if I'm going to be looking also on a 4 hours time frame, that's also a nice base out. And you can see it. You might not feel it, but this is, by the way, in fact, it's around 14 days period. You look at it, it's a few candles, you know, few candles. That's what you are looking at it. But in fact, it's a 14 days. Now, looking also at the weekly time frame on what exactly you printed here, that's a weekly candle that you printed it at around these levels. They left you, by the way, a decent tip that there were a lot of people that they got trapped at around these levels. Looking at this, that all of this is going to just like roll to the downside. You came, you retested the highs, you came, you retested the highs, you deviated from here, done, you move to the downside, and this is going to break down. We're going to keep continuing lower. This is where we got some kind of a clue at around these levels. So when we came at around these levels with this aggressive sell into a demand zone, this is where exactly things it's gonna start looking that. Did we see, like, let's say buyers, they are absorbing sellers? Oh, we saw it. If you will go on a lower time frame, you're gonna see that clearly. And you see, like, let's say a decent demand that it's just get triggered at around these levels. This is where exactly the sellers, they went aggressive to the downside, trying to break immediately, getting trapped, offside move, aggressive move, and then after that you started seeing the recovery, and you got all of these shorts that they will be forced to close their positions, or at least they will get liquidated, and the price is going to start just shifting and moving to the upper side. Then by that time, that's a total different story. Buyers stepping in, where usually when you get these kind of moves, you can still also identify when you are moving to the upper side, but it will always be an up retrace, up retrace. So you still can identify a lot of things on the way up, that if we started shifting the momentum or we didn't start shifting the momentum. Now, clearly something else that I wanted at these levels, like let's say to show it to you here, where few differences that you need to take it into consideration on where we were by that time. So the 513 for me on a weekly time frame at these levels, obviously we lost it. That was like, okay, you are moving in a downtrend, you know. So that's a downtrend, and we saw the shift from around these levels. Fine. On a daily time frame, that's where you started reclaiming the momentum. That's a confirmed reclaim for the momentum. That's a decent sign for you for the reversal. Then you get to yourself, like, let's say the retrace, then the move to the upper side. But I'm saying, like, if you get yourself a play as a mean reversion, then still you're going to get, like, let's say yourself a drop, you know, because it's the area where you dropped from it. So you break, you move toward it. Then after that, you start shifting. That's the whole thing. And this is, by the way, an aggressive V-shaped recovery. It's a very nice, aggressive, and I would say relatively fast V-shaped recovery. All right. So my point from all of this, when I'm looking at this is where you started reclaiming the momentum, and you can see the momentum just kept holding all the way to the upper side. You know, it's just like you shift the momentum. Weekly time frame momentum, this is where you started reclaiming it, and from the moment that you reclaimed it, done. You are moving to the upper side. And yeah, but I don't use, you know, the 513, you know, just like blindly to it. Again, if you will shift this to the 12 and the 21, also, by the way, if you will go to it, so here you lost it, you moved and you shifted away from it. Here you got the reclaim on a daily time frame. By the way, that's your daily time frame on the 12 to 21, the same thing, and that's the momentum. Now, after identifying the momentum, and you got yourself, like, let's say a move and just like a trend reversal, then you just need to be extremely careful where you will be looking for the shorts, and try just to move with the longs as much as you can. That's where exactly we stay selective when it's coming to shorts, and we try to move more with the longs. That's the whole idea behind me walking you through this. So do we have a downtrend? Yes, we do have a downtrend. At least this as a downtrend. I'm not talking about, like, you know, trend lines. I don't trade trend lines. In fact, I don't know how to draw them, you know. That's just like a very simple way. The point from here, that could we get this and still get this and still get this? Yeah, it's very possible, but this needs time to be resolved. So where this is gonna put us, it's gonna put us that we need really to pay attention too much into the beginning of the week. My expectations, again, that you might get yourself a little bit of a bounce into rebalancing again the weekly candle, but we see where we're gonna close it, and then into next week we will see. Will we get, like, let's say an early drop also into the week? Will we sweep these lows? Will we start showing, like, let's say decent base out and the demand where we start shifting in the coming few days, weeks to the upper side? Very possible. But this is the kind of price action that I'm looking at it. Now, November, it is moving to the downside. Did it really give us enough expansion and the move away from the monthly open? Yes, but still it has a room. Still she can go another 10% to the downside. Now, the point that if I'm looking at something that I want really to trade toward it, then I would like really to trade toward higher levels. Now, does it mean that we're not going to be, like, you know, does it mean that my expectation, will you go, like, let's say to the 50, 70 lower? Yeah. But my expectations, you're not gonna go too far away from here before getting some kind of a decent box. Could it be into November, into December, like toward the end of the year for rebalancing the yearly candle? That's my expectations. I doubt that we're gonna be really like, let's say, just going and just shifting to lower levels and reaching, the 70, 60, 50 without getting a decent bounce. That's my expectation. That's just my opinion. After that, into like, let's say, after we close the month, December, or we close the year, that's a total different story. We're starting a new year, and that's a whole different life, when it's coming to these kind of things. But the whole idea, when you are looking at these kind of things, you really need to start paying attention to how you can identify the market and how you can play the market. I think maybe 1.5 months ago, when we were at around these levels, you know, and we traded at around these levels. And then after that, we, by the way, came at around these lows, where I said, the moment that you start getting yourself a weekly closing under the 104, the 106 region, then you start expecting prices to come to lower levels. And that's the whole thing. You have to expect prices to go to lower levels. Now, the 108, 300, it's a major yearly level. You lose it, then definitely you're going to come to lower levels. And this is where exactly, by the way, from the beginning of the month, you started losing this area, and you just start shifting to the downside because it's a major pivot level. So the point out of all of what exactly we are talking about, I do expect in the coming few days, weeks, that we're going to be getting a decent bounce. Okay. From where exactly it's going to happen, I'm going to keep you updated during the week on how exactly I'm seeing things. If there will be, like, let's say, any kind of a bounce from here, it doesn't mean that BTC done. It's just reversing. It's moving. And let's assume that this was the bottom, which is, I do have like a big concern on it. Because I didn't get, like, let's say, fully my signs here. I got 1 out of 3. For me, it's not enough. When I get 3 out of 3, then I do, get, like, let's say, a better visibility on things. All right. My point from here is that could we get, like, let's say, some kind of a bounces for 1, 2, 3%. Remember that this range need to resolve. So we might see above it, under it in the coming few days before we're gonna start seeing the shift. Could this, by the way, get you into some kind of a choppy price action that it's kind of too close from this, or too close from this? Very possible that you don't really get, like, let's say, more than few percentage to the upper side, to the downside. It's very possible. Very possible. Could this play out like this? Yeah, we might get into this. We might also, by the way, get into this kind of price action. It's very possible. And this would be, by the way, the only move that maybe you're going to get it, like, let's say, toward the end of the year. It's very possible. And then in the new year, we see how exactly things it's going to go. Will they just, like, again, put some pressure and start putting things, like, let's say, to the downside, and then you get that's a new year, a fully new year. We're going to be planning for it the same way of how exactly I used to plan for you, like, let's say, every single quarter, every single month. There will be something that it's in regards to the plan for the year. It depends on how we start the year, where exactly we are looking at, what kind of moves that we will be expecting. That's usually the way how exactly I'm trading. All right. So I wanted really to keep things just on BTC. And I'm not going to be talking, like, let's say, a lot about, like, let's say, altcoins. My expectations that there are a lot of more levels, I would say, on altcoins that the price can trade toward it and can move toward it. But to be honest with you, without BTC basing out, I do have, like, let's say, a lot of concerns for what kind of moves that altcoins they can get. Because in my expectations, and in my opinion, not expectations, in my opinion, that if BTC dominance is going to the downside and BTC it's dropping, that doesn't mean that you're going to get, like, let's say, a move on alts. The only thing that in that time BTC, it goes lower more than alts. That's the whole thing, as a percentage. But it's not something good that you will be saying, like, oh, we're getting an alt season. Put it on the side. Let's see how exactly things it's going to go. I do expect that we might get ourselves a decent moves on alts in December, very possible, which is, again, it's just like maybe a Santa rally or whatever it is. But again, these are the kinds of things that I'm looking at it all the time. I'm still trying to focus on lower time frame and also, like, let's say, intra week till we're gonna get a shift. because the last thing that we're exactly when we are talking about swings, if you will go back, like let's say on X, and you will be checking the main swingy plays that I played it was a short from here, a long from here, and then another long from here. I didn't actually short any of these. I longed here, I shorted here, and these were literally my swingy plays for this year. I get this one, but it was in the end of last year, but it's not really important. That wasn't something major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swing trades. That's the only thing. So for me, because like let's say the drop that we get it's like a nice drop to the downside. Am I looking for some kind of major swing reversals? I wouldn't be saying like major swing reversals. Still, I think BTC absolutely can do something like this, as I said, and then after that to come and to drop to the downside, it's very possible. And this, by the way, can still drop a little bit to the downside or even, by the way, more. But BTC can do this into like, let's say, literally a full 2 quarters, or a full, like, let's say, three months period, that we're heading into the new year. It's very possible for me to see something like this on BTC. But that's a kind of structure that I do have it, like let's say into on BTC. And yeah, still BTC can also rally toward this area and then again break to the downside and continue to the downside. The whole point from here, just try to focus on things with what the price is giving you now, and try really, like let's say, to improve the edge on how exactly you are looking at the chart. Try to isolate yourself from the noise, because if you're gonna keep focusing on things that it's just extremely bearish, you're gonna miss the move that you are getting at, like let's say when it's coming to some kind of nice clear base out and mean reversion plays that you can get the benefits from it, and then after that just move and continue moving with the trend. You can control that, by the way, in terms of the sizing, that because the trend is to the downside, I do prefer, like, just to put less size when it's coming to long. Still thinks it's gonna get cleared out, but I promise you, the price will never reverse without basing out. You can check it on any kind of asset. You will get a nice signs for the price to be looking like it's basing out. That's the whole thing. All right. It's a very interesting area on BTC. Where exactly we reach, could we come a little bit lower? It's very possible, but I'm just saying that my place, it's gonna be mainly focusing on what exactly the week it's gonna start. Maybe also, by the way, into early December or L2. We will see. But it depends also on how we close the month, how we're going to be putting, like, let's say, the monthly candle. We can review that accordingly. Because from the last month, if you guys remember, we identified things that, just keep things simple early into the month. And if you will be losing, these major pivot levels, then you would be expecting lower levels to come. And that's the whole thing. So you got yourself this area, and the moment that you started really losing it, confirmed losing it, then you shift to the downside and you just continue to the downside. So let's see how things it's gonna play out. I still do think that the market is really tradable in a very beautiful way, but the problem, if you just keep trading it in one way and trying to ignore what exactly the price is doing, you might see the price is just like looking like, oh, look, that's an amazing uptrend. Amazing uptrend. But you are missing a lot when you ignore these signs for some major shifts to the downside. And these will be, like, let's say, the trends that you are shifting in it to the downside. Why? Because at some stage, the same way of how exactly this played out with you, there will be a time that this will come to you, and this will be your big downtrend to the downside. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna keep just looking for just like net longs, and you burn yourself till literally you're gonna get, like, let's say, literally eliminated from the market. No, that's what it doesn't work really in this way. So that's all from my side. Stay safe, guys. Wish you all the best, and we'll catch up with you with a detailed one maybe later on tonight if I see something really special with the move that I do have it on in the coming, like, let's say, few hours. If not, then we are just like leaving it till Monday, and we see how exactly things it's gonna play out. My expectations, just for a short term. If BTC started breaking above this level within today, you might get yourself few pips to the upper side. That's very possible. And yeah, in validation, unfortunately, I don't have, like, let's say, a very clean invalidation because I would say under 94, then in that time you're going to get invalidated on the idea. Earlier, yeah, I would say 94, but you don't want really, like, let's say, the price to shift away from this. But above this, you might get yourself, like, let's say, into some kind of moves of a 2 to 3% to the upper side. And from here, if in case this is going to be the beginning of the week play before it's going to come to take the loss, it's possible. I don't have really, like, let's say, a high confirmation or a high confluence in this play because of the way how exactly we moved on Friday. And I do prefer just to wait for Monday and see how exactly things it's going to play out on Monday itself, all right? But yeah, this area, it's not an area that you can short it because definitely the price can go still 3, 4, 5% to the downside, but it's not an area that you want to short here. That's all play. Wish you all the best, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch up with you later on. Cheers. Bye bye.